So welcome to another episode of Closers Club, where we chat with the people leading from the front lines of sales, marketing, and growth. Today's guest has done it all, from leading lead gen powerhouses to building and scaling teams within insurance and now healthcare. He's currently president of CarynHealth, but you might know him at his time at Sales River, Quote.com, and the founding days of Sidekick Leads. Please welcome Chris Michelson, a leader who knows how to build businesses that move markets and close deals. So Chris, welcome to the podcast. Really excited to have you on.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I'm happy to be here.
That's great. How's your day been today?
Not bad. We're dealing with like these weird Canadian forest fires. I'm up in PA, and so it's like super hazy outside, but I'm inside. We got some air filters, so we're hanging out.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I used to live in the Bay Area, and this was when Napa was like on fire, and it was just like complete, like it looked like apocalyptic. So I do feel for you, man. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, dude. I got my inhaler on standby.
There you go. Well, cool. Well, thank you again for being on the podcast. The way that I typically like to kind of like kick off these discussions is really just to get to understand you and what drives you. And so really, I wanted to start from the beginning. And can you talk about, like, what did you want to do when you grew up, right? I know this kind of backtracks, when you're a kid, but like, what did you want to do? And, as you're kind of thinking through your answer on this, like, how did that actually set you up to like where you are today?
So, honestly, when I was a kid, I wanted to be Superman, right? Legitimately, my stepfather adopted me when I was really young, right, to be like my official dad. And the judge asked me that same question when I was in the adoption process. And without hesitation, I was like, I'm going to be Superman. And believe me, it was heartbreaking when I learned that I couldn't fly. And even worse, to realize that I wasn't very fast or strong either. So, I settled then on wanting to be a basketball player because I grew up in Chicago during the 90s, right, during the Bulls run. And then I, stopped growing at like 5'8". So, again, heartbreak. Frankly, I never imagined that I would be, like the president of a healthcare company, but life's kind of funny that I get to pretend to be Superman by helping people find, great plans, help people in their, usually in their most vulnerable points of their life when they're dealing with medical issues. And I still get to dabble in being a point guard in the sense that, I get to build teams and I get to structure teams around like a playbook that we create.
And then how, the whole background of Closers Club is really around talking with folks that are essentially the front lines of sales and growth and trying to close deals. How did you get started in marketing and sales, right? Like, what was that story like of getting involved in business, like your first job, out of school, and growing into sales and really starting to learn a playbook to actually developing the playbook?
Talking and like communicating with people was honestly the only thing that I was ever really great at, right? I was so great at talking. I used to get kicked out of class like every day of my life, right, when I was in school. And school didn't really fit my mentality. I kind of always hated and still kind of hate being told what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and I need to be in environments where the target is sort of always moving. And there's a certain amount of freedom to execute my mission. Sales marketing has always, resonated with that desire, right? So just naturally I moved into that. I mean, truly from my first job ever, I worked in like a boiler room in Chicago where we were selling business in a box solutions for a consulting firm. And like 5 to 6 years after I left there, I looked online. They were rated like the third worst place to work in the whole country by some LinkedIn poll. So, really went boots on ground to, sales was always what I was going to do, right? I never went to college. I didn't need to. just got into it.
What do you mean by business in a box? Like, were you selling, like, what was that? What was that?
Literally, I was just cold calling business owners for one of our outside consultants to come in and help small and medium sized businesses develop, a better go to market strategy, create marketing budget, and just maybe help them with manufacturing if they were a manufacturing business. It was a ridiculous business premise, but I was like 16 years old and they were paying us $22 an hour back then in the 90s when all my friends were working at, like Blockbuster or something for like $8.50 an hour.
Did you like it?
I liked the thrill of sales, right? I like the thrill of like, I still get it sometimes, right? Like even coming on here, you get the fear a little bit that like feeling of butterflies in your stomach when you're cold calling someone for the first time. How's it going to go? Are you going to close the deal? Are they going to, are they going to tell you to fuck off in like 5 seconds and slam the phone down on you? Or, how's it going to go? So, I guess I kind of got addicted to that adrenaline rush of going through that process.
So what was like next step after that? So you're in this boiler room and then this is not the place for me, or another opportunity opened up. Like, did you end up developing like a really good rapport with the business in the box? And it's like, hey, like I like this adrenaline and I want to take it to the next step, or like what was really that next step?
Yeah, no, honestly, I hated it. It was like, it was this tacky call center, old school call center where we still had, that you had to pick up the phone. They would give us phone books. We were dialing out of the phone book and there was a bunch of handwritten notes in the phone book next to the 40 other people that called that business before you. And it was awful. And at this point I was like, 21 or whatever, 2021, and weather hit and Chicago winters are brutal and just kept getting snowed in. I was like, I hate it here. I went into work one day. I was like, I'm going to move to Florida. I was like, okay, Chris, you're just being dramatic. And I was in Florida literally like 2 or 3 weeks later. I was just done with all of that. And I actually worked outside for a while because it was winter and Florida's beautiful in the winter. And I was working on yachts and doing body work and mechanical work on some of these mega yachts in Lauderdale Harbor and, the Broward, West Broward Marina. And, dude, summer hit and it's like my first summer in Florida. It's, 1,000 degrees outside, 200% humidity. I'm in like a full suit sanding the bottom of boats. And I'm just like, this is awful. So I walked in the middle of the day and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And, I went home and I went on monster.com, right, which still existed back then. And I didn't have much of a criteria for what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to be in air conditioning and, found another sales job in the nurse recruiting world. Did really great there. The market's kind of shifted in what was it, like 2017, 18. That business struggled. And I walked across the street to get a job at a digital marketing company called Saveology, and had a couple of really great leaders there. Mike Aronowitz, Eric Dennis, Rachel Tabari, Corinne Formasano, and had some great people that I work with that are still in the industry. John Hyatt, BC Smith, a couple of guys that build their own media funnels and taught me a lot, and then one of our best affiliate partners is a guy named Rob Weber. He owned a robust website that was all SEO focused. We became friends like outside of work. He taught me a lot about SEO. I went to work for him. And it was, just one thing led to another. I fell in love with digital marketing and then I found a way as I kind of ventured out on my own, to kind of combo sales and marketing together.
What did you love about digital?
Oh, there's so many paths that you can go down. Okay. There's so many different ways that you can drive media. It was fun. It was young. It was new. It was kind of the Wild West. So everyone was just trying out new things. And, I kind of just fell in love with the grind of it. And I love being able to work from home and the freedom that it gave and being able to travel to conferences and meet new people who are super smart and give you a ton of insight into all these different aspects of business that I probably never would have found or thought of on my own.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. So when you were at Saveology, you mentioned um that you like learned a lot. Like what was the one like lesson that you learned at Saveology that you still kind of hold on to today?
I didn't even know that like you could make money online like that. Like I know that's not maybe like a lesson, but it just opened my eyes to an entirely different world. I had no idea what affiliate marketing was. I had no idea what paid search was or SEO or any of that. And it just gave me the opportunity to learn. There's an entire world out there that at that time, you're talking 15, 20 years ago almost, was still very, very young and developing.
Yeah. How do you how do you look at the marketplace now, right? Because now there's all the stuff with Meta, all the stuff with TikTok. Um, there's a million different ways to make money online. Like how has your kind of thinking shifted over the years or matured, I guess?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question, right? It's because it's shifted in like every way. I mean,
Yeah.
as I've grown into these different roles that I've been in, I think it's maybe just having a comprehensive understanding of how the entire ecosystem has to work together. Um, you probably won't be successful if you only bid in Meta or if you only bid in Google or if you only bid in YouTube. And just the understanding of how to build the processes around what it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? And using the digital mediums as a resource for growth, not betting your entire existence around just one protocol in digital marketing.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I always kind of look at digital, like the good people that do digital, like they always kind of have this hacky kind of spirit to it, or like a hustler spirit where it's like, oh, I have an idea on this campaign. I just want to get it up live real fast, see if I get any bites on it. And if so, then I'll start dumping money into it. Right. So it's like all these little tests until you find like a real nugget there. And then you can start putting more investment behind it. Like that type of mentality, right? Like how does that play in at your current role, being a president, this health firm, like how does that play in with your playbooks and how you guys go about driving awareness, driving people to reach out with you, engage with you from a customer perspective?
I'd say it's just learning the evolution, right? Because when you look at healthcare and health coverage, there really is an evolution of metrics that you look at. So to your point, the hustle of digital marketing, right? When you first are launching campaigns, you're just hoping to get a good CPA. You're hoping that you run a campaign, you throw some money at it, you're getting some level of return that's at least close to your CPA target to make sure that, or I shouldn't say make sure, but to give you enough motivation to really spend the time, effort, and money into digging in how to optimize it and make it better, right? And in the world of insurance, yeah, you make the sale, but then the policy needs to effectuate, you need to get paid on it, and then it needs to make sense, right? So you evolve from just looking at CPA to effectuated CPA. And as a product owner now, I'm looking at it more from, my LTVs and my actual CAC to LTV ratio, because we own plans, right? And so plan usage, churn rate, attrition, persistency ratings, what plan is being sold in what market and what are my rising coverage costs in those markets? Are my networks going to start charging more in California, New York, or and so it's that evolution of going from entry level thinking of CPA to effectuated CPA, where you're actually getting paid as an agent, to what is the actual LTV to CAC and all the variable metrics that fall into understanding what your actual CAC is and what your actual LTV is. It's a wide matrix of numbers and revenue points that you have to pull from and pull into to make sure that you're leveraging your operating capital effectively.
That's great. And how do you keep all that organized?
I don't know, being insane, I guess, just working a lot. It's building a good team. Honestly, building a good team around you is critical. I'm not, you know, very like smart on a lot of things, right? Like I'm not long division in my head smart at all. It's I'd say my best skill is being able to see the dots and then finding how they all connect into one another, and then being able to articulate how the dots connect so that it makes sense for everybody else, regardless of what their specific skill set is, right? We use a number of tools to help keep us organized. We're not afraid to talk, right? It goes back to, I think, how you build a team.
Great. So, you're at a healthcare company now. You were earlier talking about like really loving the thrill of sales. What actually drew you into wanting to get into more of the healthcare space?
I would say exhaustion, right? Truly. I was a marketer, I was a salesperson, I was a marketing leader, a sales and marketing leader, which is, what a CRO role demands of you. I've been an agent, I've worked on insurance floors, I've done, all these things on the insurance side. And I guess I just got tired of seeing and hearing the same new answers to the same old problems. And I wanted to be a part of a team that changes the paradigm. And, hopefully at the end of it all, I could look back at my career and look back at my life and see that, by making this very scary career change, it was really the beginning of me leaving a lasting imprint on the way that healthcare is managed in our country. That would be my ultimate dream, right? I really did leave it all behind. I went from lead gen and insurance sales into, we own a product and we own technology, and we're going to start getting people different type of health coverage.
What like keeps you like motivated, right? Like from that perspective of, wanting to fix the healthcare industry, like is that what keeps you motivated?
Some of it is that like endless drive. Like I wish I could say that I have this profound epiphany to share, but like my honest answer is that I've always felt like my work has been mission driven. It's always been personal for me. I got into healthcare because at a young age, right, when I was talking about, I left Saveology and I went to work with a friend that I had made in industry. I got diagnosed with cancer very shortly after that. Like it wasn't a great it wasn't a great one to get. I had a tumor the size of my fist in my chest. I had 2 tumors in my throat, 2 in my neck, 2 in my ribs, a couple in my groin. And it took a lot out of me and my family to get to where we are now, right? And so I use that pain and that fear and that anger of going through all that to kind of propel me through this very foggy road. I think people are genuinely like afraid of the challenges that the healthcare environment creates because it's an incredibly daunting task. This is a very, very broken platform and a very broken system that has a lot of hidden bombs and very crooked roads. You have to be a bit of a lunatic to voluntarily walk into this darkness of healthcare, right? I'm very grateful that I've been blessed with the tools or the mindset to walk this path, and I'm not sure if it's stupidity, stubbornness, or just like divine providence that I have this mentality, but since I decided that healthcare was gonna be the industry that I became an expert in, it's always been important to me that I make a difference in the outcome of people's lives. And that's been my mission for the last 15 years, My motivations are heavily internal, but like my external motivations exist as well, right? First of all, my wife is like very beautiful, right? And she spends a lot of money. So I want to make sure that I keep her around, right? I got to make sure there's a lot of time and energy invested in that relationship, so I don't want to lose that. I'm kidding mostly, but But my main motivator is the belief that I'm doing something worthwhile, right? Like when my day of reckoning comes, is God going to be pleased with how I use the talents that I've been blessed with? And beyond that, I want to make my wife proud of me. I want her to see that she chose a man that really tries his best every day. I challenge myself constantly if I'm being the role model that my children deserve. I think to myself, do I make my parents, my brother, my grandparents, my in-laws proud of the man that I've become? And I let that be the driver behind the very somewhat tough, dark times of, am I solving all these problems that I see every day? Because it's a lot of weight to carry. I put a lot of pressure on myself.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. Like how did that road start, right? Like trying to be an expert in healthcare.
I don't know, man. When I got healthy, I didn't have a very good insurance plan when I got sick. And so you go through, all the trauma and the bullshit of chemo and radiation and then you finish and you've got like like $1 million worth of medical bills lying there. And I was like, I couldn't make heads or tails of any of it. And I just decided, I'm going to get into insurance very heavily. And, I had dabbled in it before, but I was going to really dedicate my time into it. And I was going to try to learn all the sides and all the angles of this industry to the best of my ability.
Like how have you looked at like creating or leading like the GTM teams, right? And like, what do you look at? Like you said earlier, and I'm trying to bridge this here where, it's all about surrounding yourself with good teams, right? You obviously went through a lot health wise. Like, were you working at that time? Were you relying on a team? What was the work-life balance like at that? I'm assuming that like you were taking time off or.
So, my go-to-market strategy has changed significantly from when I founded Sidekick, right? There was a very like sole proprietor piece. And I don't feel like I did like the greatest job there, right? The hardest part of Sidekick leads was me, right? Like my own self-limiting beliefs, my own inability to trust others. And, I had this desire to just do everything on my own because I didn't have the trust in other people, right? And that mindset held me back. And I never overcame that during the time at Sidekick, right? With time and perspective, I've come to understand like what trust looks like and how to build strong teams. And so I look at it from two perspectives when you talk about go-to-market strategies, right? With building a high-performing revenue organization. There's the build model, and then there's inherently the failure model, right? Every opportunity has to balance. So the build model is built around the framework of the classic question, right? Who, what, where, why, when, and how. So my where is simple. I decided on healthcare. That's the battlefield that I've committed to. The what is that everyone has to buy in, right? You have to have a team and everyone has to buy in. You can't have disbelief in the mission. If you're going to do something big, the time to debate about it is at the beginning. And that's where all the debates have to have. Everybody lays it out on the table, fight it out early. But once the decision's made on what the mission is, you disagree and commit. And from there, the data is the judge of whether or not we were all collectively right or not. My why is because I've never seen scalable success when people are rowing in different directions, and I couldn't achieve success at this type of a level on my own. And even if a small group has their own agenda in a larger org, it derails the larger goal. And so the how is you have to build a culture that's rooted in trust. And that trust starts with creating a space where people feel safe giving feedback, good or bad. But it's not just about being vocal. It's about bringing, well-informed thoughts to the table. And that means hiring people who have insight, courage, and the skill to spot problems, bring solutions, and speak up. And so that how brings you to the who. The who is the most important piece. You have to build a team of trustworthy people inherently if you want a organization built on trust. So when I look at the leaders that I've hired to help me achieve the success that I've had, they all share things that are in common, right? They're smart. Not long division in their head smart. They just get it immediately kind of way. They see a new problem. They can put the pieces together. They know our industry. They know the space. They understand their role in the bigger picture. And then they think strategically around that. It's people who are collaborative, but also independent, right? I'm never looking for yes men or yes women. I want people who come prepared, who can coach and be coached, and who have the strength and the foundation of knowledge to push back when something doesn't make sense. These people are all also high performers, not high performers, not just busy, right? Not just like good vibes type people, but they consistently outperform the average output of other people in their roles, right? There's no delineation there. It's just what they are. They're aligning with the company's values, right? It's critical. Ferrari couldn't be Ferrari if the lead designer thought that the Toyota Corolla was the pinnacle of automobile design, right? It just wouldn't work. And this is like a Steve Jobs thing. They have a little diva in them, right? I say that with love because I'm kind of a diva, right? The best people that I have worked with are the ones that unabashedly speak their mind. They're hard to manage. They're full of their own opinions. But when you find divas who check all of those previous boxes, right, and truly believe in it, those aren't the people who like iterate your culture. Those are the people who help redefine it and make it better. And then they inherently become the model that other people want to follow, which allows you to build your hierarchy of success. Because again, man, you cannot do it alone at massive scale.
And how do you manage those types of folks, right? Because it seems like those are like your A teams. I think Steve Jobs is all about like A teams and B teams, and people that are A don't want to be on a B team. They just don't want to be around those folks. So how have you over the years managed those A players to a point where it works for you?
I sucked at it at first. I was terrible at first. Because again, I was like this like lone wolf going out there, and then it was like, okay, you got to play nice with others, and I would micromanage. I would try to control every aspect of what was happening, and now it's like it really is the trust but verify model. Okay, and I know enough now that I can do that. Hopefully when you're doing the same thing for 15, 20 years, you learn enough to be smart enough to call out BS when you see it. And so when you're working with A team players and they bring an idea or they bring a problem or they bring a solution to you, now that I've been doing this long enough, I can kind of sniff out immediately where the stopgaps are going to be. And then I kind of let these people, you got to let people do their thing, right? And you do the trust but verify model. We meet, I meet with my leadership team every week. We talk through all the problems, and it's leaders from every side of the organization. I've built committees in our business. So, there's a marketing committee, there's a membership committee, there's a, TPA committee, there's an adjudication committee, there's sales committee. And it's not just the leaders, the A teams that are in these committees. The leaders are the chairman of those committees. But members of our organization and employees of our organization that are, B, C, D players, whatever you want to call them. I don't mean that to be, oh, they're D, they're just not smart. It's just in the hierarchy of things, right? They get to be a part of it. They get to see what's going on. They get to hear the decisions that are being made and the rationale behind why we're making those decisions.
Yeah.
To get like boots on ground opinion.
Yeah, and like they have to learn, right? Like a D player might be a D player today, but they're not necessarily going to be a D player a year from now, 2 years from now, right? They need to see how A players interact with other A players and understand what that next level is.
Yeah. The committee model's been very, very good for us.
What has been the biggest leadership lesson in your career?
Yeah, I've talked a lot of lessons, right? Look, one of the people in my life that has had a huge impact on me is a former boss of mine, a guy named Mike Aronowitz. He's become a mentor and a great friend over time. He has a great quote that information not shared is useless information. Okay? Information not shared is useless information. And what I took from that is that you need to have an environment where people are talking, sharing, speaking, having open lines of communication with one another. And, as a leader, you have to foster that mentality. You have to foster the ability to allow people to be open and honest, regardless of if they agree or disagree with what's going on.
And are you doing that through the committee aspect at CarynHealth?
Yeah, I think it goes just beyond. I think it goes beyond the committees. To be honest, I think that it's just inherently ingrained in how we operate. Anyone can reach me at any time on Slack or email, and I reply. I borderline force my leadership team to do the same thing. But the great thing is that the leaders that I have now, they already buy into that mentality, right? I think that the committees add to it because they give an opportunity for people who might not ordinarily have a voice at the table. It gives them a voice because the committees aren't huge, right? It's only like 5 to 6 people in the committee. And so they're working through the problems and they get a voice, and it's nice. It has been pretty transformational.
What's the one piece, like what's something that you wish that you knew, like something that you know now? Like what is that one thing that you know now that you wish you knew when you were starting your career?
It probably, I would say, buy Bitcoin. buy Bitcoin like right now, and buy as much of it as you can. No, but like,
is there some room to grow with Bitcoin? Like, what do you think? We can jump back to that question in a minute, but from a Bitcoin perspective, is what's the runway look like?
Oh man, I don't know. It keeps growing, so I just keep pumping in, right?
So not today.
It's probably about like 1.6. It's been hovering around like 1.16, 1.17 the last couple of days. But like, it keeps growing and the dollar keeps losing. And so why would you continue to pump your money into a losing asset of dollars when you can pump it into something else, right? So sky's the limit, man. You read online, people are like, I could go to, $1 million a coin. I'm like, I sure hope it does. I don't know that that's truly going to happen or not. But no, I look, fundamentally, things that I wish I knew is just how to communicate better with people. Like I said, I was not a very good leader when I started off. I was just, I think I was raised in a very Glengarry Glen Ross world of boiler rooms. And so, people were throwing things in meetings, getting into fist fights in meetings. People were getting dragged out and thrown out of the call center. And that's just not really the way the world works. And it probably took me longer than it should have to realize that, being in control is better. But like foundationally as a human, I'd say that the one thing that stands out is just to enjoy the journey a little bit more. I was always kind of focused on the goal, right? It's like the money, the outcome, but the outcome really is just the reward for doing the journey the right way. Right. Understanding your own potential. I think I'm probably not the only one that deals with like negative, intrusive thoughts. Right. So, for a long period of time, I feel like maybe I was my own worst limiting factor, and just not believing that I could do something. And I guess I kind of almost approach it with a reckless abandon, which can backfire at times, but when it works, it's great.
And how do you combat that? Right? Like, how do you kind of push the, like you said, everyone deals with it, right? How do you deal with it?
I joke that I'm not that smart, but I'm probably all right on the IQ scale. and just understanding that like it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like my 70% done is probably just as good as a lot of other people's 100% done, but it's going to take them 10 times longer to get to 100% done because it takes everyone longer to get to 100% done. And just accepting that perfection doesn't always mean success. Sometimes just doing is good enough to get to success. And I know that this is going to totally contradict what I just said in terms of like finding that balance of like not letting the intrusive thoughts win. But like, I kind of keep this chip on my shoulder of just always thinking I'm a lazy piece of shit. And like, it's never good enough. And I'm always, pushing myself to achieve this relentless pursuit of perfection.
Well, you got to have that motivator, right?
Yeah. If you aim for perfection, right? Every athlete that has ever been interviewed says this. I'm not saying anything mind blowing here, but when you aim for perfection, you end up getting better, but you never reach perfection. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned earlier about like, growing up in the boiler room, the Glengarry Glen Ross mentality. How has sales changed since then? Like, what are the main things that has really changed in the sales floor, since that time?
I think that it's more strategic, right? It still largely is a numbers game, right? At the end of the day, the more conversations you have, the more sales you're going to make. So you have to still put in the work, but, you guys had a question for me before the podcast, right? Which I appreciate. And I think the question was, what separates average salespeople from good salespeople? And I think that that's what's changed. I think that that's what's changed the most, right? Older school sales was purely just a volume pump. It was how many times can we connect? How many times can we reach someone? How many times can we get in front of them? More so than our competition, especially in industries where there's like a very similar benefit add. But I think the difference now in great salespeople is how much work they put in behind the scenes. Okay. Are they doing the hard work behind the closed doors that no one sees to really understand their clients' problems? I see so many salespeople in our industry that have been doing this for like 10 years and they can still only use buzzwords, right? The most relevant buzzwords without being able to connect the dots. And that just doesn't really fly anymore from what I've seen, right? Like if the person trying to sell me something isn't smarter than me at the problem that they're trying to solve for me, I'm not buying from them. There's no chance that I'm buying from them because I'm not going to get any value out of that partnership, right? Unless it's like a piece of technology that's just doing it on its own. But a lot of times that's not what you're getting sold nowadays, right? You're getting sold lead marketing partnerships. You're getting sold benefit packages partnerships. You're getting sold on, ideas as well as product. And if the idea and the one curating that idea to me can't articulate how to solve the problem better than I can, how are they actually going to help me solve the problem?
Yeah, they're not the product experts, right? Like they're just trying to say, hey, this is what I know how to sell. This is the product that I'm paid to talk about. So I'm just going to talk about this versus going in and actually trying to solve the right problem, like diagnosing it correctly.
So maybe a shorter way to say it is I think just the education of the salesman has gotten way more robust than it used to be. Yeah. Whereas before it was just process pounding the phones, process pounding your follow-ups. It's be educated. Let's actually solve problems so that when we do land the conversation, it's more impactful. With all these AI tools out there, dude, I get like 800 emails a day and 790 of them are AI like, hey, I'm just following up. Hey, saw you on blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you didn't. Right. And so when you do actually, it's just AI just doing it automated. Right. And so when one finally resonates and you reply and you get me on the phone, like, you better have something impactful to say. And I'm not the only leader that thinks like that. I'm not the only one in my shoes that has 9 hours of meetings a day, and I don't have 30 minutes to give to a sales guy. So if I give you 30 minutes as the sales guy, you got to blow my socks off, dude. You have to know your business. You have to.
Totally. You wear a lot of different hats, right? Like you're founder, you're president. How do you stay grounded so you don't like burn out from all this, right? Like 9 hours of meetings a day plus actual day-to-day work on top of that. Like, what do you do to kind of relax and take your mind off it?
I actively force myself to disconnect as hard as it is sometimes. And look, that's not every day. Like there are days when I'm working 14 hours or I work from, 7 a.m. until 5 p.m., go upstairs, have, dinner with the kids, tuck them in at night at 8 p.m. And I'm right back down here finishing stuff until midnight or 1 p.m. But I don't do that like every day. Right. I take time. I take time for my kids when I can. We go on hikes. I like to shoot guns. I smoke cigars. I'm rebuilding cars and I'm driving my old cars around. Just vibing out, to the sound of the motor or the sound of the road or, whatever music's hitting me at that moment, whether it's Mozart or Eazy-E, right? And then anything in between.
So the last question I have for you is, in the fashion of Closers Club, right? That's the podcast that's really meant to help salespeople like get more plugged in, help people like close deals, and leverage the lessons that you've learned and you've shared to help them grow in their career. Like in your opinion, like what does it mean to be like a closer, right? If you think about the Glengarry Glen Ross, I always mess that up when I say it. But if you think through like always be closing and being a closer, like what is your definition of that?
Well, I mean, we talked about it a little bit before, right? It's definitely the never ending pursuit of excellence, the never ending pursuit of knowledge. This is one of my dad's quotes, right? Knowledge gives you the confidence to speak on the matter, and confidence equals power. Right. If I asked you to get up on stage in front of 1,000 people and talk to me about how nuclear fission works, you'd be panicking. You'd be like, what am I even going to talk about? But if I asked you to get up on stage in front of 1,000 people and tell me, why your mom's important to you, or, why your childhood was great, or, what your favorite childhood memory was, the knowledge of that you have is profound. And so you're able to speak eloquently about it. So to me, being a closer means, you're an expert in your field. You've done the hard work to be able to answer the tough questions beyond just the mundane. And you don't have to just be a salesperson to be a closer, right? Like customer service reps, they're not closing deals, but they're helping people. Have they learned enough about the process that their business has around them in order to successfully help a member or a person that's called in to ask a question? If they can help everyone because they know it, they're a closer, right? Marketers don't close deals. They make the phone ring. Is the phone ringing off the hook on the sales floor? Great. It's because you took the time to improve your processes, find a way to buy the media the right way to make the phone ring every day. You're a closer. And for leaders, it's like, are people happy going into work every day? Are people happy working for you? Are people like living a fulfilling life by working on the mission that you've laid out as the leader of the organization? And if people are coming in every day and they're staying and they're producing and they're elevating their own status, they're learning, they're growing, they're promoting. Even some people like leaving and getting better jobs as like, maybe there wasn't a role here, but they left a director role and now just got a vice president role somewhere else. Like that's closing as a leader, is building everyone up around you. Right. So
that's awesome. That's an awesome response, man. I love it. Well, Chris, thank you again for just kind of sharing your story, talking about, your health experiences and, how you recoup from that. It's a pleasure to meet you and kind of talk with you today. And yeah, thank you so much.
You too, man. Good questions. Good question.